In the last video, we painted this whole composition as far as we wanted to, and now I want to paint background. But before I go there, let's first take a moment, put on our critical glasses, and take a look at what's actually wrong with this painting so far. And usually, if we want to fix something, at least when we are talking about painting, 90% of that fixing is figuring out what's wrong and how to do it, but the real doing is probably 10% or less. So now, if I look at this painting so far, I can see three problems with it. The first is color harmony. I have here a butterfly, which has all those beautiful yellow, orange, red hues, and black, of course, which stands almost like island by itself. And then in this whole set of grapes, I have green, green, green of every kind of green under blue sky, but they do not talk to each other. Very little. This yellow here has slightly greenish hue to it, and these grapes here have a little bit here of orange, brown, but not awfully much. And that is a problem. In order to unify this color-wise and obtain that color harmony, what I need to do is actually go over those grapes and bring in more of those yellow-orange hues in the areas which I can choose to be reflected light area. If, let's say, my source of light is coming from the top left side, another one from the top right side, but from the bottom, depending how you choose background to look like, I can have reflected light, which will bring some orange yellow hues from the bottom, and that way completely unify the painting and bring it to full, beautiful, pleasant to look at color harmony. The second problem with this painting is edges. All those edges are not well defined, and that's intentional. Why I left it that way is because if I painted all those edges to be beautiful, nice, and completely finished, when I come with a large brush and apply a lot of water around it, watercolor, as it travels, carried by water, will reach to those edges and deposit large amount of paint, which will look as very not nice to look at, hard edge, which I don't want to deal with, and I will instead paint up to a certain point far away and then come close here and then define those edges. So I just postpone that step, which does need to take place for a little bit later when I am halfway through painting background, and then refine it. And the third thing which I see wrong with this painting is I don't have well-defined core shadows, shadow areas, and reflected lights. If I did or do have them, then those grapes would have popped even more. But again, that was intentional, because in watercolor painting, if we go too fast, too dark, we might step over the boundary and then not be able to go back. On the contrary, if we go slow and steady and observe and let watercolor dry and then look what's the value and color and adjust as we go, we have space and time to bring that painting to exactly the hue and the values we want to bring it. So now let's look and start painting background. By the way, I have no plan what the background would look like. Usually in my paintings, if subject is very well defined, then I choose some romantic, almost like fairy tale color harmony to be background. It's not realistic and it's not meant to be realistic, but it looks beautiful and it looks very harmonious. So I'm going to look at this painting for a while and think what kind of background I would like to make here, and then come back when I get the idea. At the front, I decided to paint forest floor with fallen leaves and combination of colors which I already have in the painting. After thinking what kind of theme I would like to portray in my painting, I settled on the theme of golden harvest, plentiful of everything, beautiful colors, glorious display of nature, and of course, generous harvest. So, since I have here green grapes and I had orange butterfly with some traces of yellow and red, and there was this balance of orange red compared to green, I settled to choose the background where I add additional elements of red, orange, and yellow, and forest floor looked like perfect setting for it. So I added these dead tree trunks, some fallen leaves in a different colors, which are fall colors, and of course forest mushrooms and moss, and some other interesting elements. And then what's interesting here is to pay attention on colors and complementary colors, and of course values and edges and everything else what's important. But complementary colors here are very, very important, as well as the temperature of the color. In this whole composition, even though you might think grapes are really star of the painting, the real star is this butterfly, and I don't want to lose that beautiful contrast and striking beauty which this butterfly has. Since it's very dark, dark as possible, black around, I cannot place anything too dark around it. Otherwise, it will not stand. Plus, since it's orange-red, I'm very well aware that if I place around it similar red-orange hues, they will settle down and pretty much diminish that star stage which currently Butterfly has. So I did apply a few layers. This is of course far from finished because the things still need to be connected and joined and the light and shadows communicated, but at least it gives me an idea where I'm going with this painting. Now, the big question is what to do with the rest of the background. And that's what I wanted to communicate. In this composition so far, everything sings. The colors are harmonious and connected. There is blue, pink, purple here, but it's connected with the blue, purple, pink hues here on those highlighted elements of tree trunks and rocks. Green is in full harmony. Red, orange hues are in full harmony all over. And now it's big question what to do with the rest of the background. How busy it should be, what value it should have, and what should be in it. And a few ideas cross my mind, and I still don't know which one I am going to settle on. If I look at the butterfly, I know that if I place too many orange-red hues, it would not be a good idea. If I place something too dark, it would not be a good idea because the butterfly would not stand out. However, if I paint this entire section in those preferable blue, purple hues, then that would bring this balance in the entire painting's color harmony. So I can't do that. I have to have some sort of balance between warm and cool colors and the values which recede, which communicate that whatever it is here is far, far, far behind. On this side here, I have very striking red leaves, and I know that they have at the edges of them small little red highlights, which would make them stand out. But as well here, whatever I place behind, it needs to make sure that those leaves and this part of the grapes stay in the foreground and the rest goes back. And currently, I have a few ideas. I'm not settled on any of them. One idea is to have setting sun environment at the back where the sky might be kind of bluish purplish at the top, but then as it comes down, it becomes more of yellow, red, magenta, and that way there will be balance between purple, pink hues at the top, some warm hues a little bit down, and then those far away purple elements take over and bring everything forward into warm hues. That should work. The second idea is I might choose to have beautiful golden forest at the back, which would have all those colors. It will have tree trunks which are disappearing at the back. We'll have green, red leaves which are also falling down and some of them are still there. And that is probably good idea. However, if not properly executed, it can make this painting too busy. And then all those foreground elements which we would want to have in focus would become less interesting because our eye might go at the back and wonder what else is out there. So that is potential danger. The third idea could be that I simply create a rocky landscape at the back, which is barely visible and completely disappears. But that could bring, again, disjointed painting between having warm on this half of the painting and cool receding faraway objects on the top side of the painting. So as you can see, nothing is over until the painting is over. And thinking through it before we place that brush on the paper is extremely important to avoid that frustration and disappointment, because we came pretty far with how far we developed this painting so far. And we don't want to ruin it by rushing into it and putting some color and hoping for the best. We want to think through, we want to make the right choice, even if you need to put some sort of test background and on the separate piece of paper and bring it in and look and compare. That's completely fine and common practice among artists before they settle for that final choice. So let me think again, and once I decide, I'll come back and share that. After thinking about a few options how to paint background, I decided to paint Golden Forest. The whole painting is about that gold harvest which we have in the fall at the end of the year when grapes become ripen and the leaves around start to turn from green into yellow and red, and having beautiful forest behind with a lot of sunshine seemed to be like right choice. Now I started and I placed only 2 layers of paint. First, wet in wet, I placed those yellow and orange dots which represent leaves. And then in the next layer, since I didn't have enough time before the paper dries, I again re-wet the paper and then applied this indication of trees behind. At this point, it's important not to go too dark and not to create too sharp edges, especially in the background, because that will limit subsequently what we can do and how we can fine-tune the painting. Also, at this point, it's important to look at the whole painting. All colors, all edges, everything what we have and decide what needs to be changed before we call this painting completed. And that's one of the questions which very frequently artists have. Is this painting finished? If I touch it, will it be overworked and then all these weeks of work which I put into it will be just gone? And you have to trust your eyes, your imagination, and your artistic call to make the right decision. In this case, I'm very confident that this background, even though it looks great and it looks full of light, still needs work because some of those trees need to come forward, some need to sit behind and still be haze and barely noticeable, and all those beautiful golden yellow leaves will need to have a little bit of green, a little bit of some other color in it, so that those colors at the back unify with the colors at the front. On the other side, at the front, there is quite a bit of work which still needs to be done. Those edges around grapes are too sharp and they stand out too much. They do need to merge with this front ground. And the way to do that is to bring the front ground colors over the grapes. And that way there will be clear visual impression that they turn and they belong to the same foreground surface. Also in this area here, there is a need to adjust tones and edges so that everything syncs together. So let's do that and we'll come back when this background and the whole painting is finished. And here is how completed painting looks like. I decided to call it Golden Harvest because it does portray plentiful which we get at the end of the fall when everything ripens, including grapes, and the landscape and the forest turns into flame red as leaves fall down and the last rays of the setting sun penetrates through the forest. So I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy the process and I hope you learn something along the way. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day and see you in the next video.